Hey guys, so today's video is a request from Ann B. This video, I don't even know where to begin. I don't normally bother so much with trigger warnings at the beginning of my videos because I do true crime. Like, it's pretty obvious what you're going to be hearing, but I'm going to give one this time. I remember hearing about this when it happened. This is a story from Knoxville, Tennessee, and most of you know I'm from Nashville, or half of you probably know I'm from Nashville. I remember hearing about this on the radio when I was in college. It was the year that I graduated high school, and it was insane, the stuff that they were telling us had happened, and I barely scratched the surface of what actually happened when I heard about it. This has got to be in the top 5 most horrible cases I have ever heard of, and I've seen and heard some pretty gruesome cases. So just be warned, because this is an awful, brutal, torturous thing that happened to these two people. My heart definitely goes out to their families. Knowing what happened to their loved ones, I cannot imagine what they've been through. Doing the research for them, I'm literally like tearing up right now, because doing the research was really hard for this one. And this was a case where it's been out in public. So most of what I've got, all my sources are linked below as usual, is basically like Wikipedia's layout of it. And just cleaning up the notes for reading the video, I was getting emotional, because I thought, like, Jesus Christ, if I knew someone who went through this, it's awful. So just be forewarned, this is very, very, very rough. If you're not in a good state of mind right now, maybe save this later for video for another time, or skip it altogether. That's fine. You do not have to watch all of my videos if you're like a subscriber or anything like that. I'm not going to get my feelings hurt. If ever you were to be worried about hearing about a case, this would be the one I would probably be iffy on of my videos that I've done. I am going to try and just lay out the timeline of what happened. I'm going to be a little bit vague in certain parts, because I don't even feel comfortable saying some of this stuff, which is awful. But I'm talking the details. I don't even feel comfortable giving excruciating details of what happened. So there's going to be moments where I say things like their body, because it's rough. And it's hard to even talk about when you go into the exact details of what happened to them. You're still going to hear a lot of detail. You're still going to hear exactly what happened, but you'll probably know when I'm glossing over a certain thing, and it's going to pretty much be inferred what I'm talking about. This is the story of Channon, Gail Christian, and Chris Newsom and their murders. This happened in 2007. Let me see, it was in January of 2007. Wow, so I was still in high school when this actually happened. I just remember being about that age, so I guess I was in high school when I heard about it on the radio. But again, this was in Knoxville, Tennessee, where this took place. If you get interested and look up the house where this happened, there is a little memorial outside, like a big cross with their names on it, saying like in memory of Channon and Chris. It's nearby like a train station kind of deal, like railroad tracks, but also like a dump site. I'm a little unsure exactly what the layout was when I was looking at it, but it looks like it may be some sort of facility for solid waste. And then it's nearby railroad tracks, basically. It's right in front of some railroad tracks. So Channon Gail Christian was a senior majoring in sociology at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. She planned on graduating December of this year, 2007, I mean. Hugh Christopher, known as Chris Newsom Jr., was 23 and a former baseball player for his high school. graduating in 2002. After high school, he attended community college and planned on became a carpenter rather. 4 males and 1 female were arrested, charged, and convicted in this case. In 2007, a grand jury indicted Latalvis Darnell Cobbins, Lamarcus Deval Davidson, George Giovanni Thomas, and Vanessa Lynn Coleman on counts of kidnapping, robbery, rape, and murder. There is one other person connected to this. I'll speak on him at the end. That is the 4th male. On Saturday, January 6th of 2007, Christian and Newsom planned to go out for dinner together and then attend a friend's party. That afternoon, Christian went to a friend's apartment to get ready. At around 8 p.m., Christian's friends went to the party, and Christian stayed behind and waited for Newsom to pick her up and take her to the party. Newsom arrived, and he and Christian went to the apartment complex parking lot. The assailants observed Christian and Newsom standing close to Christian's vehicle in an embrace. They then decided to attack the couple. Both were forced into the back of Christian's SUV at gunpoint, had their hands tied behind their backs, and were taken to Davidson's house at 2316 Chipman Street in Knoxville. Both Christian and Newsom were raped. Newsom is believed to have been raped inside of Davidson's home. According to the testimony of the Knox County acting medical examiner, Newsom was sodomized with an object and raped by a minimum of one of the perpetrators. He was then taken to a set of railroad tracks, where he was forced to walk barefoot to the location where he was murdered. Prosecutors believe a mangled dog leash found on a hillside leading up to the railroad tracks was used to force Newsom to walk to his death. When Newsom was murdered, his hands were bound behind his back and his feet were bound together. He was blindfolded with a bandana and gagged with a sock. He wore only a t-shirt and underwear. Newsom was shot in the back of the head, the neck, and the back. After killing Newsom, the assailants set his body on fire. Christian was held prisoner inside of Davidson's house, mostly in the north bedroom. Prosecutors believe that Coleman held Christian captive while the male offenders were murdering Newsom. After murdering Newsom, the assailants returned to Davidson's house, where they beat and repeatedly raped Christian. The medical examiner testified that Christian died after hours of sexual torture, sustaining severe head injuries and suffering severe injuries to other parts of her body. Multiple other parts of her body, due to sexual assaults. Her injuries were consistent with being raped with an object. She had also been beaten and kicked in her vagina and beaten on the head. Christian suffered extensive hemorrhage to her head and vaginal area. Additionally, she suffered bruises and carpet burns on much of her body. Before killing her, in an effort to remove DNA evidence, Christian's attackers poured bleach down her throat and scrubbed her body with it. This is while she was still alive. Christian was bound with curtains and strips of bedding. Her face was tightly covered with a small trash bag and her body stashed in 5 large trash bags. Christian, who was naked except for her camisole and sweater, was tied in a fetal position and placed inside a residential waste disposal unit and covered with sheets. The medical examiner testified at the trial that there was evidence that Christian slowly suffocated to death. Christian died between the afternoon of the 7th and the afternoon of the 8th. As Christian was suffocating to death, Davidson left to spend time with his girlfriend and gave her Christian's personal items. Davidson also used Newsom's cell phone and was seen wearing Newsom's shoes. After Christian and Newsom did not show up at the party, the couple's friends began calling and texting them and received no response. Later, around 11 p.m., 2 of Newsom's friends went to the apartment from where the couple had been kidnapped and found Newsom's truck in the parking lot, but were unable to locate Christian's SUV. A witness who worked as a driver for Waste Connections arrived at work on Chipman Street, which is where the house is located where this gruesome act happened, at around 12:30 a.m. on January 7th. He noticed that the lights in 2316 Chipman Street were on and that the house seemed busy for the time of night. He saw a 4Runner in front of the house with its porch lights on. The witness later observed the 4Runner drive slowly by him. The car slowed down for about 20 seconds, as if the occupants were checking him out. He saw 4 black men in the car. Another witness who lived 1 block away from the house heard 3 pops from the direction of the train tracks at about 1:45 a.m. Newsom's body was discovered near a set of railroad tracks on January 7th at 12:20 p.m. by a Norfolk Southern Railroad employee. A comforter was wrapped around Newsom's body and a sweatshirt was wrapped around his head. On January 7th, Christian failed to answer calls from her mother and friend. Christian also did not attend work. The couple's friends and family tried to find them, checking local hospitals and filing missing persons reports. Christian's parents requested help from law enforcement, but were told that they would have to search themselves. They then sought help from Christian's mobile phone provider and learned that her phone had been last pinged at a Cherry Street phone tower. Christian and Newsom's family's friends searched the Cherry Street area and found Christian's abandoned Toyota 4Runner between 1:30 and 2 a.m. on Monday, January 8th. Several items were missing from Christian's vehicle, including a teddy bear and photographs Christian kept there, as well as her phone charger and iPod. The front seats were pushed all the way back where Christian could not have reached the pedals. The floorboard was covered with mud, which was inconsistent with how Christian maintained her vehicle. Stickers Christian kept on the outside windows had been removed. Inside the vehicle was a pack of Newport cigarettes, even though neither Christian nor Newsom smoked them. Police also recovered an envelope from the vehicle that yielded fingerprint evidence, leading them to Lamarcus Davidson of 2316 Chipman Street, an address 2 blocks from Christian's car. When police went to that house on Tuesday, January 9th, they found the house unoccupied and Christian's body in a trash can in the kitchen. The bags had Davidson's prints. Davidson's prints were also found on a box of garbage bags. Davidson's sperm was found in Christian's body, while Cobbin's sperm was found in her mouth. Also inside the house were several items that belonged to Christian and Newsom. Several of the victims' belongings had Davidson's prints. Shell casings found at Davidson's house matched the bullets used to kill Newsom. After finding Christian's body and discovering the presence of Davidson's semen on her clothing and in her body cavities, police undertook a manhunt for Davidson. After learning of phone calls between Davidson and Boyd, they asked Boyd for information regarding Davidson's whereabouts. Boyd directed them to a vacant house. On January 11th, Davidson was arrested in the vacant house. There, police found Newsom's 9.5 Nike Shox athletic shoes and a .22 caliber high-standard revolver. Davidson was then interrogated about the murders. He told 5 different stories, first claiming that he had left the house on Friday and knew nothing of the crimes. He later told police that Cobbins and Thomas arrived at his house around 10 p.m. on Friday or Saturday and informed him that they had carjacked some people who were in the vehicle. Davidson claimed he saw the victims tied up in the back seat and did not want any part of it and left to smoke marijuana. He said that he returned to the house about 20 minutes later to find Christian, who told him she did not want to die. He then used Christian's vehicle to deal drugs and wipe it clean. Davidson claimed that he did not go past the living room and that he never had sex with Christian. On January 11th were the arrests of Thomas, Cobbins, and Coleman in Lebanon, Kentucky. After his arrest, Cobbins gave a statement to investigators. He claimed that he, Davidson, and Boyd drove to an apartment complex for someone to meet a girl. When they arrived, they saw an SUV with a female in the driver's seat who was speaking to a male. Davidson and Boyd basically carjacked them, he said, and ordered Cobbins to drive back to Chipman Street. According to Cobbins, once they arrived at the residence, Davidson took the woman into a bedroom and Boyd drove away with the man. Boyd later returned without the male victim. Cobbins denied having had any sexual intercourse with the female victim. Coleman also admitted to being present in the house during the crimes, claiming that she had been held hostage by the other defendants. After the arrests of Thomas, Cobbins, and Coleman, a journal was recovered. A journal entry from January 9th stated, "Last night was one of a kind. We stayed with a crackhead, and that is cool as hell. It snowed a little bit, but it's already melted. Let's talk about adventures. I had one hell of an adventure since I've been in the big TN. It's a crazy world these days, but I love the fun adventures and lessons that I've learned. It's going to be a long, interesting year." A forensic document examiner verified that the handwriting in the entry matched Coleman's handwriting. George Giovanni Detroit Thomas faced a total of 46 charges. Thomas was indicted on 16 counts of felony murder related to the rape, robbery, and kidnapping committed against Christian and Newsom, 2 counts of premeditated murder, 2 counts of especially aggravated robbery, 4 counts of especially aggravated kidnapping, 20 counts of aggravated rape, and 2 counts of theft. Latalvis Darnell Rome Cobbins faced the same 46 charges as Thomas. He was also charged with assaulting a correctional officer while incarcerated pending trial. In 2003, Cobbins had been convicted of third-degree attempted robbery in New York, so he had had a past history already, and he and Davidson are actually half-brothers. Lamarcus Duvall Slim Davidson faced the same 46 charges as Thomas. Davidson was originally from Memphis and had just in August of 2006 completed a 5-year sentence in Tennessee on a previous felony conviction for carjacking and aggravated robbery. Davidson was also indicted for a second robbery, which was committed at Pizza Hut one day after the murders. Vanessa Lynn Coleman was arrested by Lebanon Police Department in her hometown of Lebanon, Kentucky. She faced 40 Tennessee state charges. Coleman was indicted on 12 counts of felony murder related to the rape, robbery, kidnapping, and theft of Christian and Newsom, 1 count of premeditated murder of Christian only, 1 count of especially aggravated robbery of Newsom only, 4 counts of especially aggravated kidnapping, and 20 counts of aggravated rape, 2 counts of theft. In addition, 1 suspect was indicted by a federal grand jury in the Eastern District of Tennessee, but would later be tried in Tennessee on state charges more than a decade later. Eric Dwayne Boyd was arrested in connection with the fatal carjacking. He was not indicted by the Knox County jury in 2007, but would be indicted by a separate federal grand jury on August 23rd of 2007. The grand jury returned a superseding indictment charging him with being an accessory to carjacking, resulting in serious bodily injury to another person, and misprision of a felony, which I'm not sure what that term means, I'll be honest. Later, Boyd was accused by Thomas and Cobbins of the rape and murder of Newsom, and a search warrant was obtained for his DNA. He was later convicted on state charges in 2019. Now, the current status of their whereabouts. Vanessa Coleman, the only female charged and convicted in the crimes, is held at the Tennessee Prison for Women in Nashville. Serving a 35-year sentence, Coleman was eligible for parole in 2017, and her sentence actually expires on April 18th of 2036. The families of the victims were notified that with good behavior, Coleman's sentence was being reduced by 16 days per month of incarceration, making her eligible for parole consideration in October of 2014. The parole hearing was rescheduled from October to December of 2014, and at that hearing, Coleman was denied parole on her next and her next parole consideration date was set for December of 2020. Coleman again went before a parole board on December 8th of last year. Christian and Newsom's mothers and Christian's father gave statements to the board opposing parole. The 7 members of the board voted unanimously to deny parole for Coleman and to ensure that she would not be eligible to go before a parole board again for 10 years. Cobbins and Thomas were originally incarcerated at Riverbend Maximum Security Institution in Nashville. After the Bledsoe County Correctional Complex in Pikeville opened in 2012, they were transferred to that facility. Cobbins is currently serving a life sentence without parole at the Northwest Correctional Complex. Thomas is serving a 50-year sentence at the Northeast Correctional Complex. His sentence ends in May 2053. Davidson was sentenced to death on October 30th of 2009 and is incarcerated at the Riverbend Maximum Security Institution. Eric Boyd, who has been serving his sentence of 18 years at a federal correction institution, Beckley, a medium security prison near Beaver, West Virginia, was potentially eligible for release in 2022, but found guilty on charges of rape and first-degree murder on August 13th of 2019. He was immediately sentenced to life in prison by the judge, who stated that a life sentence was automatic for the murder conviction. That is the absolutely heart-wrenching and disgusting, awful, terrible, I don't even have words for it, case of the deaths of Channon, Christian, and Chris Newsom Jr. I don't even have words for this case. It's so heart-wrenching. All I can say is that my everything, my thoughts, my everything just goes out to the families of these victims. Nobody deserves anything like this. But to be such innocent people who didn't even know the perpetrators, were just in love, ready to go out on a date and go to a party with some friends, and for something like this to happen is absolutely disgusting. I mean, there's no words for it, for what happened. So I'm speechless. I really am. I don't know what else to say. So if you guys liked this video, you can give it a thumbs up below. If you have any suggestions for videos you would like to see, true crime or otherwise, leave those in the comments below. If you want to subscribe, if you want to see more videos, you can subscribe. I upload videos every other Wednesday now. I'm just really floored by this case, and I can't even seriously do my outro. It's just heart-wrenching. Other than that, I guess I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.